The Civil War event takes place after the events of House of M, and centers around the Avengers and Fantastic Four characters. The story begins with a team known as the New Warriors, who have set up a reality TV show but are losing ratings. In an effort to boost this, the New Warriors fight off a team of supervillains, however, are way out of their league. One villain named Nitro explodes, resulting in the deaths of the people who live in Stamford. The government, in response to this, sets up the Superhero Registration Act, which is backed by Tony Stark, aka Iron Man. Captain America opposes the movement, becoming the head of a resistance. As the lives of the superheroes becomes more chaotic, as shown with the Fantastic Four, Johnny Storm receives a beating and a bottle to his head, and Soon-Ri's marriage becomes strained. Things quickly escalate when the Registration Act is passed and superheroes are arrested by their own with S.H.I.E.L.D. Spider-Man is also publicly announced as Peter Parker. Iron Man attempts to recruit X-Men, Black Panther, and Doctor Strange. However, they don't wish to join. Iron Man's forces and Captain America's forces then clash in an epic battle, which also reveals that Thor is alive. However, Thor appears to be acting very strangely, eventually resulting in the death of a major hero. In the aftermath, heroes on both sides start to reconsider their allegiances. Sue and Johnny leave the Fantastic Four as a result, and join Captain America, as does Spider-Man. However, Spider-Man is then hunted down by the Thunderbolts team. Spider-Man is severely injured in the process, but is rescued by the Punisher and brought to Captain America. The Punisher then breaks into the Baxter Building, stealing the designs for the Negative Zone prison. Elsewhere, Hank Pym oversees the creation of a cloned superhero team. He talks to Maria Hill about the 50-state initiative before being called away. Later, Captain America and his team head to the Negative Zone and are confronted by Iron Man and his team. Who will win the final battle, and what will it mean for the Marvel Universe? Marvel Civil War takes place after House of M. With Civil War and House of M, I found a lot of these events I've been very, very confused with. Because obviously I have not read the entire Marvel continuity to fully understand what's going on in this story. So I kind of didn't really understand what was happening in this book. And a lot of the book feels like a giant fight book. And for me, I had to really, really scrape through the book to really work out what the book was trying to tell me. And when you have scraped through the book, you do actually find some very interesting thematics in the event. And I will based on some of the research I've come across recently, a lot of the Civil War event events tie-ins were actually very, very interesting. And actually expanded the Civil War story into a more complex story. One of the themes that I identified within the book was the American Civil War aspect. Think of the American Civil War in current times, and that's sort of what the book is like. It's heavily focused on the aftermath of 9/11. This book happened 3 years after that event happened. Yeah, and there's a lot of political stuff being told in this book. And it's sort of interesting because Iron Man's Avengers team and Captain America's team is kind of like the Republic and the Democratic parties of the American political system. And the Stanford incident strongly resembles the 9/11 that happened in New York. And I say and going back to the American Civil War idea that I talked about, a lot of this book has parallels to that war. Most notably, how the American Civil War tore up families between the North and the South. An example being what happened with the Fantastic Four, with Sue Storm and Johnny Storm sort of coming away from Mr. Fantastic. So I really, really liked that idea. Although, unfortunately, a lot of that goes above my head. As, yes, I have lived in America, but I don't fully understand their political system. To be perfectly honest, I don't understand British political system half the time. So the political theme sort of went over my head a little. However, what didn't go over my head was the superhero aspects. This book is heavily focused on the superhero, on the superhero in general, and sort of that chaoticness that these superheroes have. And I really felt in this book, you felt what the heroes felt. You felt the chaoticness. You felt this divide happening between these two teams. And whereas the tie-ins focus on some of the non-superpowered people, and there's a book called Marvel Civil War Frontline, which deals with the human aspect. It's also very interesting from the aspect that the heroes in this comic are very destructive. Particularly when you look at Captain America. Captain America believes in his cause so strongly that he doesn't see the horror of what he's inflicting onto. There's a scene towards the end where both of these where both of these two teams are basically destroying Manhattan. And I found that very, very interesting. I buy the fact that that would happen. I also buy the fact that, it's been happening long before then. And sort of the heroes really, really show why this Registration Act needs to happen. But there's also several other themes in the story, such as liberty, moral responsibility, and the fact that America has sort of this police state mentality. A lot of people in America, or the way America is, the value of protection is everything. And this book really describes that in the best way possible. The superhero initiative, the Superhero Registration Act is sort of a way for non-superpowered beings to feel safe. Iron Man has that. It's for the protection of normal people. Because without that, you do just have a load of superheroes running around. As you can see, this book is a lot more interesting when you sort of scrape into it. And obviously, I had to really scrape for the themes of this book. And I think one of the problems is with this book is there's so much fighting in here that I don't really get, there's so much fighting and chaoticness that you don't really get to actually take a sit-down moment and actually look at what's happening. And actually just sort of get the themes that way. Which is how I more or less get behind the scenes of the comic. I also found this book very one-sided. Iron Man's team is very much in the right in Civil War. However, in all of the tie-ins, the Iron Man's team is sort of presented, is sort of demonized. So it's very, it's very interesting to see how much of the tie-ins actually help give you a bigger picture of the story. I absolutely love the artwork in this book. The artwork is very cinematic, which helped to enjoy the book. Because when the artwork is this good, you can sort of take pleasure in reading it. And I also found panel layout was a lot more easier to follow than House of M. So, all in all, I give this book about a 4.5 out of 5. There are slight problems that I have, but the book is generally good. Again, when you scrape through finding these themes. So I'm Robin That's One here, and I shall see you all later for another comic book review. Bye.